Are we live? Hello, hello. What's cracking, you guys? Welcome back. Are we not live? We're live. Before, it would let me choose to go live at a certain point after I edit stuff, and now it's not doing that. Anywho, welcome back. Hopefully the title is titled as it should. Which should be Your Forces and How to Use Them? No, it's not part 4, reading by candlelight. It's part 5, chapter 7, part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are so many amendments to the Constitution, and I only need one. I choose the 5th. F-I-F, 5th. I hope you know that joke. Part 5, chapter 7. Clap, clap. Okay. Blake, Sarah, Sochi. What's cracking? After that crazy acid trip, I'm finally back. Everyone smash that like button so that the video can be shouted out to the rest of the subscribers. Yeah, that was Chappelle. Welcome back, Blake. Welcome back. We will start in just a second. If you're listening to this video after the live, fast forward a bit because I'm just going to give people a chance to come in and pour a glass of water or something, get ready. I have the link here if anybody wants to follow along with me. This is chapter 7 from Sacred Texts, which is a great website. Lots of really cool books in there that are for free. Yeah. P did 2020. What up? Yeah, welcome back. Oh man. Hey y'all. Hey y'all. Okay, should we start now? Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to start reading in just a second. So your forces and how to use them is awesome. I'll tell you why I like it so much. Everyone hit the like button, and then when I'm done telling you guys why I like it so much, maybe you guys will be stoked to really take it in, because it's something you should definitely really take in. But I love it. It's the thing. Nothing's necessarily new yet. It's got maybe 1 or 2 substantial gems that I haven't found anywhere else. But for the most part, it's stuff we've heard. Now, the way it's presented is completely brand new. There's a lot of perspectives that it uses, and I think that's because this book was written like 100 years ago. But I think one of the reasons why it's so moving is because it's like going camping. So you know, if someone says, "Oh, your brain never goes to sleep," or half your brain sleeps when you're in a new place. Some study I just read the other day. So whenever you sleep in a new place, that half your brain stays awake. An evolutionary adaptation, I'm assuming. So it's kind of the same way. This book, it's the same shit. The voice of it is so nice. It's so tastefully done, so straight to the point, but still simple but well fucking said. You know what I mean? Not too much, not too little, not too hot, not too cold, not too occulty, not the opposite. You know what I mean? And it does this sort of thing where it keeps your mind awake throughout the text. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I read something, if I'm reading it for a long time, I sort of fade and have to come back depending upon the book, you know? That's why I like reading. Never mind. Anywho. Yeah, so we'll begin. Hopefully you guys are as stoked on it as I am. Thank you guys for hitting the like button. I really appreciate it. It really helps the channel. Because even if you hit the bell notification, not everyone gets it. So I'm hoping that that's part of it, is maybe if more people hit the like button, that's why they're not getting the notifications. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't know what else to do. That's all I got. So thank you guys for helping. And we'll begin. The link again is further up in the comments. I'll post it again if you want to follow along. I noticed that that's the most useful way to do this, is to read along. You'll pick up more. But, ooh, let me light my candles. Trying to set a vibe over here, you know what I mean? Trying to be all tasty and shit. Nice. Nice. Alright, cool. And so we begin, ladies and gents, boys and girls. Today we are reading, turn this down a little bit, Your Forces and How to Use Them by Christian D. Larson, 1912. Over 100 years ago this book was written. You guys, this book was written the year the Titanic sank, or at least published then. A year after the Kabbalion. So, just imagine that while we read this. Imagine that. Imagine everything you've learned and how much sense this book is going to make. Thinking we're so far advanced, we've come so far. Now we know the answer. That's what humans always think. Now we're at the pinnacle of human ingenuity, human thoughts. But just think about what this guy was writing. Like over 108 years ago. 108 years ago. So this is chapter 7. How man becomes what he thinks. Scientific research in the metaphysical field has dominated the fact that man is as he thinks, that he becomes what he thinks, and that what he thinks in the present determines what he is to become in the future. And also that since he can change his thought for the better along any line, he can therefore completely change himself along any line. But the majority who try to apply this law do not succeed to a great degree. The reason being that instead of working entirely upon the principle that man is as he thinks, they proceed in the belief that man is what he thinks he is. Hold on. Trying to see if I can chill with the lighting over here, or if that's going to be a little too weird. No, that's cool. We're leaving that. Alright. At first sight, there may seem to be no difference between the principle that man is as he thinks and the beliefs that man is as he thinks he is. But close study will reveal the fact that the latter is absolutely untrue. Man is not what he thinks he is, because personality, mentality, and character are not determined by personal opinions. It is the thought of the heart, that is, the mental expression from the subconscious will that makes the personal man what he is. Sorry if I read that last paragraph kind of weird. It was weirdly written. But the subconscious is affected only by what man actually thinks in the real field of creative thought, and not by what he may think of himself in the field of mere personal opinion. I'll read that again. It is the thought of the heart, that is, the mental expression from the subconscious that makes the personal man what he is. But the subconscious is affected only by what man actually thinks in the real field of creative thought, and not by what he may think of himself in the field of mere personal opinion. That's what I mean. That's a powerful statement that contradicts a lot of what we're taught today, and right? Because we're taught that you are what you think, but this is saying fuck off. You're not what you think you are of yourself. Like, basically how you perceive yourself. Maybe for that, it's how you perceive yourself. But this is saying fuck off. It's not how you perceive yourself. Is affected only by what man actually thinks in the real field of creative thought. Maybe the mechanics of the universe itself, and not necessarily an individual perception of what he or she is. So it goes on to say, it is subjective thought that makes you what you are. But to think that you are thus or so will not necessarily make you thus or so. To create subjective thought, you must act directly upon the subconscious. But it is not possible to impress the subconscious while you are forming opinions about your personal self. The mere statement about yourself will not affect or change the subconscious. And so long as the subconscious remains unchanged, you will remain unchanged. While you are thinking simply about your external or personal self, you are acting upon the objective. But to change yourself, you must act upon the subjective. Man may think that he is great, but so long as he continues to think small thoughts, he will continue to be small. Right, and that's what this. So let's go. But that is important. That's a perfect segue. He should have put that sentence after this one. So remember earlier when I said this is, a plot twist in what we're taught today by traditional, by standard spirituality. So it says, fuck off with that. Man, the subconscious is only affected by by what man actually thinks in the real field of creative thought. So we can think all we want about ourselves and all about what we want, but what we only believe to be true from like the realest of the real, you know what I mean? And for example, man may think that he is great. So you can stand there all day long and say, I'm the greatest. See, I made it. I'm the world's greatest. And I'm that ring of light in the sky above. I will reign. You guys remember that song? Too bad all kinds of weird shit. All right. Man may think that he is great, but so long as he continues to think small thoughts, he will continue to be small, a contradiction of thoughts, in other words. It said this before in the book that not all thoughts are equal. He's criticized this thoughts become things a few times in this book, which is interesting enough because it was written in 1912. Telling me that people have been aware of these things for decades, and he's correcting those thoughts. So the evolution of this train of thought, if you will, is quite interesting. So he continues to say, no matter how high an opinion he may have of himself, while he is living in the superficial, his thoughts will be empty. And empty thoughts are not conducive to high attainments and great achievements. Man becomes great when he thinks great thoughts. And to think great thoughts, he must transcend the limitations and circumscribed conditions of the person, and mentally enter into the world of the great and the superior. He must seek to gain a larger and a larger consciousness of the world of real quality, real worth, and real superiority, and must dwell upon the loftiest mountain peaks of mind that he can possibly reach. He must live in the life of greatness, breathe the spirit of greatness, and feel the very soul of greatness. Then and only then will he think great thoughts. And the mind that continues to think great thoughts will continue to grow in greatness. It is not what you state in your thought, but what you give to your thought that determines results. Remember that, you guys. That's the sacrifice. There's always a sacrifice, right? A goat, blood, humans, whatever. There's always a sacrifice. What he's saying is not what you state in your thought, but what you give to your thought that determines the results. The thought that is merely stated may be empty, but it is the thought with something in it That alone can exercise real power in personal life. And what is to be in your thought will depend upon what you think into your thought. What you give to your thought will give to you, and you will be and become accordingly, no matter what you may think that you are. The cause that you originate in the within, will produce its effect in the without, regardless of what your opinion may be. Your personal life will consequently be the result of what you think, but it will not necessarily be what you think it is. This guy's he's almost like fucking with you as he writes. You know what I mean? I get the impression that homeboy low-key's fucking with you as you. Your personal life will consequently be the result of what you think, but it will not necessarily be what you think it is. Having discovered the fact that the physical body is completely renewed every 8 or 10 months, you will naturally think that you are young. But to simply think you are young will not cause the body to look as young as it really is. To retain your youth, you must remove those subconscious tendencies and conditions that produce old age, and you must eliminate worry. Ooh, I gotta take a sip of whiskey after that. Remember earlier when I said I've been thinking a lot about that question? Was it Akjari? Did you ask me that question? That last line I read was exactly to a T what I've been thinking about. Interesting. So let me make sure that the live is still running well. Checking on you guys. How you doing out there? Okay, everything seems to be in order. No. Nice. Okay, everything's still gravy. Thank you guys for being here. Please, 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 please hit the like button for the channel. It really helps everything. Thank you for being here and chilling. I'm telling you, I get so excited when I read this book. That's how I know it's good. It's like I'm pumped right now. I got the candles going. Then it's starting to cool off. I'm catching a real hard, spooky Halloween vibe right now. I'm loving it. All right, let's keep going. I know. Or you guys want to give me a break so I can grab some more candles? Hold on. I'm the candle master. I should have some more candles going. All right. My garage door is open, and 100% my neighbors think I'm some kind of fucking brujo, they would call me over here, which is basically a sorcerer. Oh, also, these candles I'm burning, you can find on the Etsy shop. What up? I make my own beeswax candles, white, red, black. I got ritual candles. I got all kinds of candles and all kinds of other stuff on the Etsy shop. You can't see them because it's dark, but they look dope as fuck. Let's, is that better? Also, never light your wick when it's that long. You gotta cut it. It's bad etiquette. That's bad candle etiquette. My bad. That should help a bit with the light. Yay, shout out to my fellow Aries out there. What up, Fire Squad? Fire! Okay, we're gonna keep going. Let's see if I can. I needed a homemade pop filter. Okay, we're gonna keep going. Yada yada yada. Okay, to develop the feeling of youth in the whole mind, you must become fully conscious of the fact that youth is naturally produced in your entire system every minute. And you must train the mind to take cognizance only of the eternal now. 1912, you guys. So long as we feel that we are passing with time, we will imagine that we feel the weight of more and more years. And this feeling will invariably cause the body to show the mark of years, growing older and older in appearance as more years are added to the imaginary burden of age. You will look young when you feel young, but to simply feel that you are young, will not always cause you to feel young. The real feeling of youth comes when we actually think in the consciousness of youth and give the realization of the now to every thought. All right, let's read that one again. He keeps harping home on the difference between thinking something or the different ways about thinking something, and he gave another really good example of it here. If you were paying attention, you said you will look young when you feel young. Don't think about youth and age at this moment. Just think about anything. You will look young when you feel young, but to simply feel that you are young will not always cause you to feel young. The real feeling of youth comes when we actually think in the consciousness of youth. So it's like wearing two hats. It's like wearing the hat of age and then thinking about the hat of youth, or that's what we're doing, right? We're wearing our hat, saying this is the hat we're wearing, but we need that hat over there, so we're going to think about that hat over there so that we magically wear the hat. It's going, no, that's not how you wear the hat. You don't wear the hat by thinking about wearing the other hat. You wear the hat by wearing the fucking hat. Just take off yours and put that one on. Now your thoughts are coming through as the lens of the thing you want to be, instead of your thoughts coming out as your current lens thinking about a different lens. You know what I mean? All right, so let's keep going. Yada yada yada. Some friends become enemies. Some enemies become. I lost my spot. Oh, and what it is to be in your thought will depend upon what you think. Wait, we read that part. Fuck, where'd I go? Okay, here we go. So long as we feel that we are passing with time, we will imagine that we feel the weight of more and more years. The real feeling of youth. You may think that you are well, but you will not secure health until you think thoughts that produce health. You may persistently affirm that you are well, but so long as you live in discord, confusion, worry, fear, and other wrong states of mind, you will be sick with that. That is, you will be as you think and not what you think you are. That is, you will be as you think and not what you think you are. You know that? I gotta write that one down. It's funny. I used the word noteworthy a lot, but this is one of the only times I've ever actually taken actual note of something that I deemed as noteworthy. I feel very successful. I did it. We made it, you guys. You may state health in your thought, but if you give worry, fear, and discord to that thought, your thinking will produce discord. It is not what we state in our thoughts, but what we give to our thoughts that determine the results. That's funny. It's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say, oh, this is what he was fucking talking about. Think about what we're putting into the thoughts as we have them. Man, that's important. And man, you don't hear that enough in fucking YouTube spiritual videos. So I'm saying it now because I've failed you up until now. But it is not what we state in our thoughts. I lost my goddamn spot. Hopefully you guys were following along in the text, because I can't find where we were. So we're moving on. That means that thought was gone. Remember, it's what you put into the thought, not the thought itself. Therefore, to think thoughts that can produce health, the mind must enter into the realization of the being of health and not simply dwell in the objective belief about health. Again, to produce health, the mind must enter into the realization of the being of health and not simply dwell in the objective belief about it. All the laws of life must be observed. That is, the mind must be in that understanding of law, and in that harmony with law where the guiding thought will naturally observe law. That's... Let me read that again. And in... to simply think that you are well will not teach the mind to understand the laws of the liar in health, nor will that thinking place you in harmony with those laws. That thinking does not understand the laws of life. That thinking that does understand the laws of life will not come from the mere belief that you are well, but from the effort to enter into the surrounding of all law, the spirit of all law, the very life of health, and into the very soul of all truth. You may think that your mind is brilliant and may undertake most difficult tasks in the belief that you are equal to the occasion, but the question is if your conception of brilliancy is great or small. If your conception of brilliancy is small, you may be right to that degree in thinking you are brilliant. That is, you may be brilliant as far as your understanding of that is, you may be brilliant as far as your understanding of brilliancy goes. Whether that is sufficient or not to carry out the task that is before you is another question. This dude's low-key talking shit right now. Are you getting that, you guys? This guy's got such a cool way of writing. He says, whether that is sufficient or not to carry out the task that is before you is another question. He's saying, all right, it's not so much that you think you're brilliant. Like, you're just thinking you're brilliant. It also has to do with what you consider brilliancy. What is it? You're brilliant might be someone else's fool, because that person is so much more brilliant than you are. And he's straight up like, as far as you're concerned, you may think you're the shit. But whether that's enough shit to actually accomplish the task at hand, that's a different question. Because you might not ain't be shit, but you think you're shit. So it's getting hood on us. Your opinion of your mental capacity may be great, but if your idea of intelligence is crude, your intelligence-producing thought will also be crude, and can produce only crude intelligence. It is therefore evident that to simply think that you are brilliant will not produce brilliancy unless your understanding of brilliancy is made larger, higher, finer. What you understand and mentally feel concerning intelligence, mental capacity, and brilliance is what you actually think on those subjects. And it is this understanding or feeling, keyword feeling or realization, that will determine how much intelligence you will give to your thought. Your thought will be as brilliant as the brilliancy you think into your thought, and how much brilliancy you will think into your thought will depend upon how high your realization of brilliancy happens to be at the time. When your thinking is brilliant, you will be brilliant. But if your thinking is not brilliant, you will not be brilliant, no matter how brilliant you may think you are. To make your thinking more brilliant, try to enter into the consciousness of finer intelligence, larger mental capacity, and the highest order of mental brilliancy that you can possibly realize. Do not call yourself brilliant at any time, or do not think of yourself as lacking in brilliancy. Simply fix the mental eye upon absolute brilliancy, and desire with all the power of mind and soul to go on and on into higher steps of that brilliancy. When all the elements and forces of your system are working in such a way that beauty will naturally be produced, you will be beautiful, whether you think you are beautiful or not. And it is the actions of the subconscious mind that determine how the elements and forces of the system are to work. Therefore, the beautiful person is beautiful because her real interior thinking is conducive to the creation of beauty. That person, however, who is not beautiful does not necessarily think ugly thoughts, but her interior mental actions have not been brought together in such a way as to produce the expression of beauty. That is, the subconscious actions have not been arranged according to the most perfect plan. But these actions can be arranged in that manner not by thinking that one is beautiful, but by thinking thoughts that are beautiful. Let me check in on the comments, make sure. Yes, everything is mental. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Carrying on. How dope are these candles, though? We almost done? No, we're not. Been talking too much. All right, we're gonna power through this. When you think that you are beautiful, you are liable to think that you are more beautiful than others. And such a thought is not a beautiful thought. To recognize or criticize ugliness and inferiority in others is to create the inferiority and ugliness in yourself. And what you create in yourself will sooner or later be expressed through your mind and personality. So long as you worry, hate, or fear, your thought will make you disagreeable in mind and character, and later on in the person as well. And no amount of affirming or thinking that you are beautiful will overcome those ugly states of mind that you have created. You will thus be as you think, worried, hateful, ugly, not as beautiful as you may try to think you are. The personal man is the result not of beliefs or opinions, but of the quality of all the mental actions that are at work throughout the whole mind. It's all about the qualities of energy, you guys. All about it. It's not about the good or the bad. It's about the qualities of energy. We've said, man is as he thinks in every thought, and not what he thinks he is in one or more isolated parts of the personal self. You may think that you are good, but your idea of goodness may be wrong. Your thought will therefore not be conducive to goodness. On the contrary, the more you praise yourself for being good, the less goodness you will express in your nature. In addition, to think of yourself as good will have a tendency to produce a feeling of self-righteousness. That's interesting. I need to keep note of that. To think of yourself as good will have a tendency to produce a feeling of self-righteousness. This feeling will cause the mind to look down upon the less fortunate, and a mind that looks down will soon begin to go down. And you will be no better than those whom you criticize. You are only as good as the sum total of all your thoughts, and these can be increased in number indefinitely by training the mind to perpetually grow in the consciousness of absolute goodness. To grow in the consciousness of goodness, keep the mental eye upon the highest conception of absolute goodness. Try to enlarge, elevate, and define this conception or understanding of goodness perpetually. Pattern your whole life, all your thoughts, all your actions after the likeliness of the highest understanding. Then never look back nor try to measure the goodness of what you may think you now possess. Press on eternally to the higher and larger realization of absolute goodness and leave the results to law. More and more real goodness will naturally appear in all your thoughts and all your actions. You will therefore become good, not by thinking that you are good, but by thinking your thoughts that are created in the image and likeness of that which is good. From the foregoing, it is evident that man is as he thinks, and not necessarily what he thinks he is. But there is still more evidence that your personal self is the result of your thought has been demonstrated, but what thought? To make yourself thus or so, the necessary thought must first be created. But to think that you are thus or so will not create the thought that can make you thus or so. It's confusing. To think that you are this or that will not create the thought that can make you this or that. The reason is because it is subconscious thought alone that can produce effects in your nature, physical or mental. And you cannot enter the subconscious while you are thinking exclusively of your personal self. Woo! Change comes from the subconscious. I'm paraphrasing. Change comes from the subconscious, but you cannot enter the subconscious while you are thinking exclusively of your personal self. What you think about yourself is always objective thought, and mere objective thought is powerless to affect or change anything in your nature. To think thoughts that can give you more life, you must enter into the consciousness of absolute life. But you cannot enter the absolute while you are defining or measuring the personal. If you wish to possess more quality, you must give your thoughts more quality and worth. You must forget the lesser worth of the personal and enter into the consciousness of the greater worth of absolute worth itself. So long as you think that you are this or that in the personal sense, your thoughts will be on the surface. You will mentally live among effects. That's how we always talk about whether you want to be the effect or the cause. You guys, what up? You will not create new causes. Therefore, you will not produce any changes in yourself. You will continue to be as you are thinking deep down in the subconscious, where hereditary tendencies, habits, race thoughts, and other mental forces continue their usual work, regardless of your personal opinion or empty thoughts on the surface. Basically, your opinion don't mean shit. To change yourself, you must go to that depth of mind where the causes of your personal condition exist. But your mind will not enter into the depth of the within so long as your thought is on the without, and your thought will be on the surface so long as you are thinking exclusively about your personal self. The secret, therefore, is not to form opinions about yourself or to think about yourself as being this or that, but to form larger conceptions of principles and qualities. Enter the richness of real life, and you will think richer thoughts. Forget the limitations, the weaknesses, and the shortcomings of your personal self, as well as your superficial opinions of your personal self, and enter mentally into the greatness, into the grandeur, the sublimity, and the splendor of all things. Seek to gain a larger and a larger understanding of the majesty and marvelousness of all life, and aspire to think the thoughts of the infinite. This is the secret of thinking great thoughts. And he will positively become great whose thoughts are always great. In like manner, he who thinks wholesome thoughts, and wholesome thoughts only, will become healthful and wholesome. Such thoughts will have the power to produce health. And thoughts never fail to do what they have the power to do. Place in action the necessary subconscious thought, and the expected results will invariably follow. Man, therefore, is not what he thinks. Man, therefore, is not what he thinks. He is, because such thinking is personal and consequently superficial and powerless. The thought that determines his personality, his character, his mentality, and his destiny is his subjective thought. The thought that is produced in the subconscious during those moments when he forgets his personal opinions about himself and permits his mind to act with deep feeling and subjective conviction. But those thoughts that enter the subconscious are not always good thoughts. Man's subjective thinking is not always conducive to the true. I'll say that again. I've said it probably 1,000 times on this channel. Man's subjective thinking is not always conducive to be true, the wholesome and the best, as his thinking is not always right. For this reason, man himself is not always good, nor his life as beautiful as he might wish to be. His thinking is in his own hands, however. He can learn to think what he wants to think. And as he is and becomes as he thinks, we naturally conclude that he may, in the course of time, become what he wants to be. End. Man, that's good. That was good. Actions. You guys confused? You guys seem lost out there. All right, so I mean, shall we dissect it? I mean, it's not code. It's not necessarily, he's not. He could be, but it's not code that we gotta break up here. Bunch of different elements, but that last part, let's see if I can even recap. Give me a second. It's always hard to take in information and reading it out loud because I'm thinking about a lot of things, but I should be able to scrap something together for you guys. Let me see if I can tap into that subjective thought, thinking not of yourself, the richer quality of life. The name of the game in this chapter is subjective thought. And subjective thought is something that the ego cannot see, it cannot force into an experience. Like we want to think things into existence. Thoughts become things, but it's not the thoughts that become things. It's more so it's the energy that we put into that thought that becomes the thing. You can think that you want happiness, but you're even scared as you ask the question, and there could be 1,000 reasons why you're scared asking the question. You could be scared because you know what happiness is, but you're not willing to do the thing to make yourself happy. You know where your happiness lies, but you're afraid of the decisions that you have to make to get to that happiness, and so you think about something, the happiness. You hope for something, the happiness. You lust and you fantasize about the happiness, but you do it almost. What's the word I'm looking for? You do it longingly, it's like sending out a message in a bottle. Like, it's a lovely thought, beautifully packaged with such a nice, sweet story as it drifts off into the ocean, sealed, waiting for some soul to collect it. Probably not. And the chances of hearing back from them again will probably never come. But it was a nice thought, So, no. Fucking no. Thoughts don't become things. That message in a bottle is probably not going to become a thing. Because while you're longing for happiness, there's this fear inside of you. There's, maybe there's resentment. Maybe happiness comes from having to forgive someone that you refuse to forgive. It's there's something to, and there's an addiction to it. And that's what I'm picking up huge, fucking huge from this. It's like Again, what you put into something is what you get out of it. And no, thoughts don't become things. It's not as simple as like attracts like. That's why I love this book. Is he talks shit like I do, but way more passively. Like he does it way more tastefully than I do, than I could probably ever hope to do, which is fine. I'm fucking super okay with that because that actually makes me happy. But yeah. Another key point that really stood out to me at the end there was how you can't think about yourself when going for the best sort of thoughts because the self is limited and the best thoughts are not, is what it said a lot of shit, but if that was what you're confused about, because I was kind of confused, like, what the fuck's this guy talking about? Basically what he was saying was, he's like, hey, if you want the unimaginably great, then you're going to have to go to a place that is unimaginably great, because the fact that you can't imagine it, hence unimaginable, means that you should just let go of the fucking reins and stop trying to imagine it. Stop trying to think something into existence and be the fucking existence, is what it was getting at, which is a huge concept, but he broke it down nicely. Well, that's why I was so stoked when I read it. When I finally wrapped my head around it, it was like, oh, all right, just don't think about the self necessarily, because the self is small. Fair, the self is one person. Keith, I am one brain. Like, all right, so let go of the self thought, and it has nothing to do with good or bad, right? It's not like, oh, it's bad to think about yourself. Some cases, it's fucking the best thing to do to think about yourself. But again, there's different circumstances call for different qualities of energy, and this quality of energy, or the most powerful, right? The emotional world comes from the subjective, comes from the pure potential. Like that last video we just made was the pan, and it took that pure potential and it demonized it. Like, as Peter Pan was pure potential, but he was pure potential that was never made manifest. Because we want the thought to appear eventually. Remember, he said that it's there's nothing. I probably won't be able to find it. So I can find there's something huge too. That was another curveball to our. Here in the last paragraph, man's subjective thinking is not always conducive to be true, right? So even though it's the most powerful, right, it's not always true. It's not always right. Your intuition's not always, sometimes you fucking get it wrong. So it says, man's subjective thinking is not always conducive to be true. The wholesome and the best, as his thinking is not, or it's not conducive to be the most wholesome or the best, or to thinking, just like all your thoughts aren't right. Why does he fuck? That's why it's so confusing the way he wrote that. Maybe it's just a 1912 thing. For this reason, man himself is not always good, nor his life as beautiful as he might wish to be. His thinking is in his own hands, however. So that's crucial. That's what we want to really pay attention to. It says the subjective thought might not always be true, but your thinking is in your own hands. You know, because when you release yourself to the subjective, to the infinite, you're basically plugging yourself into all existence, and you're more easily persuaded. And of course, you should be more easily persuaded, because that's the whole reason you went there in the first place, was to be persuaded into something, because we couldn't do it ourselves. I wanted to have a truly great thought and action of will. But I wanted it to be so big that I had to give the question to the infinity of all, so that it can persuade me into this thought. But sometimes it's what it's saying is that's not always under our control. But what is your thinking, and that's the masculine, right? That's the conscious mind as compared to the subconscious mind. The nor better nor worse, but different quality of energy. It says he can learn to think what he wants to think, and as he is and becomes as he thinks, we naturally conclude that he may in course of time become what he wants to become. Which to me is just saying that conscious mind, that thinking mind, is something that we can master. We can monitor our thoughts, in other words, so that when we have those emotions, we can either breathe fire into those emotions or we can cut them off. That's that's the power. That's the power share between the masculine and the feminine. The feminine and the emotions are where all the power comes from. Pure, raw, fucking untapped, infinite power is the feminine, and the emotions and everything else that comes with it. And its counterpart is the masculine, the thinking mind, the one that's focusing here and there. We choose what we can focus on, and therefore choose what we become, further than just thinking something, but being something. And to dial in those two qualities of energy is to dial in both the direction of consciousness and the flow of consciousness. Lazy rivers are dope. Everyone wants to go through life in a lazy river, getting from A to B and chilling with the homies while you're doing it, having a beer and shit. But we mustn't forget that we have to create the direction of that lazy river. We don't want to jump into any old lazy river. We want to make the lazy river put in all the work that it takes to define what it is that we want. When the work is done, we fill that bitch up, get some inner tubes, 6-pack of Brewkowski, maybe some oregano, and then let the direction of consciousness flow. Or you can scope out someone else's flow, find the direction that theirs is headed in, and you can just hop inside that shit. That also works too. This chapter is done, though, you guys. Chapter is done. So, thank you for tuning in. Your views, your contributions, your shares, your likes, your donations, all of it is much appreciated. Met through Ashira. Yeah, Ashira is homies as fuck. Give her my blessings when you see her. DMT. Can you imagine? I'm just sitting here ripping DMT. I should give that a shot. I should come on here and start ripping DMT, like low grade DMT, and just have lives. Reading your guys' comments right now. Monitor yourself. 6 in Candy Mikowski, Michelle Quintana, Joe Gantz, Lavi, Christ Consciousness. Thank you guys all for coming out. Thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate the hell out of it. Anything else? You guys have anything else to say? Anything at all? If we could all just take some tea. I mean, we could. I don't know. You say that like we can't. But it's illegal. Bada. Oh, I don't know. No, dude. Let's do it. Set it up. Tuesday. Damn, microdose and have a live. I've thought about that before, but maybe. There was a time in my life where I probably would have done that like 5 times by now and just not told you guys. But I've been chilling these past couple of years. What are you reading? Oh, I'm reading Your Forces and How to Use Them. Here's a link. That was chapter 7. I highly recommend you guys take serious stock in this book. It is a gemstone, if I've ever read one. It is a gemstone. Okay. Shall we call it an evening? Or maybe is Ashira still on? Let's see if we can get Ashira on the chat, you guys. What do you think? I'm about to blow her up right now. Will that be bad form if I just hopped on her live and I was like, hey, stop your live. Let's run this shit. Oh, no, she's not live right now. Bummer. Just kidding. Unless she's live with one of her other videos. Which she could be. Okay, JK. No shout out. Patty Mayo, I just realized that your that your name is Patty Mayonnaise. Doug, right? What's it? We're doing Doug. It's Doug reference. Who's here? My little nephew just rolled up. P did 2020. It was long as fuck. That seems short to you guys? I feel like I was reading forever. Well, the book's not over. That was just one chapter. Next chapter is chapter 8. It's called The Art of Changing for the Better. We'll read a passage out of it as a little teaser. This seems interesting. The power of love is the greatest power in the world, but it can cause persons or nations to fall to the lowest state, as well as rise to the highest state. Every fall in the history of the race has been caused largely by the misdirection of love, while every step in advance has been prompted largely by the power of love turned upon better things. To misdirect love is to love that which is beneath our present stage in advancement. It is churning the forces of life backward, and retrogression must inevitably follow. Maybe we'll do the next chapter tomorrow. I'm kind of excited to read it. What up, little King Safari?
Nothing.
What you doing?
Nothing.
How was your day today? Did you have fun at the beach?
Yeah.
Nice. Did you catch any sand crabs?
Yeah.
How many?
Like 2 babies.
Small ones?
Little teeny tiny ones. We couldn't find any big ones.
I caught a big ass one the other day at the beach.
Yeah.
It's the first one I caught in years, probably. They're not up in Santa Barbara.
Really?
Not really, nah.
That's weird.
Not like here. They're all over the place down here. And they're massive. Yeah, they're super big.
Yeah. These ones are like teeny tiny babies.
Yeah, Doug, as in Doug Funny, like the TV show Doug, Goddess of Love. You guys don't know Doug? You guys know Doug. Skeeter, Doug Funny, Patty Mayonnaise. I think that's all I remembered. That's all I remembered. No, his name is not Safari. His name's Kingston, but I call him King Safari. No, I just call him that. No, his name's just Kingston, which is still a dope name. But I call him King Safari. Yeah, I'm trying to change the writing as I go. There's some things, if I can see far ahead enough, I can change to make it fucking sound coherent. But it does have some stuff in there. But it's gold. I like it a lot. It said 1910. The one I have says 1912. And the only reason why I find that important is because it'd be interesting if this was written after the Kabbalion, because there's so many similarities between the Kabbalion and this, and they're both released within a year of each other. Cousin Skeeter. That's right. Best cartoon. I think my favorite cartoon might have been Hey Arnold. I loved Rugrats, Hey Arnold, Real Monsters. Damn, my neighbors keep peeking in the garage right now, and I'm just on my wooden desk with fucking candles littered all over the place. They're probably like, "The fuck is going on in there?" Yeah. All right. I'll see you guys maybe tomorrow. All right. Take it easy. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. Check out the Etsy shop. Check out the Patreon. Yeah. Contact me if you need anything. All right. Peace out.